Have you ever found yourself staring at your phone, thumb hovering over the send button, wondering if it's too soon to reply to that message, that nagging voice in your head whispering, "Don't seem too eager, wait a little longer"? You're not alone. In the modern dating landscape, where relationships often begin with a simple text, timing has somehow become one of our greatest anxieties. We've all heard the so-called rules. Wait twice as long as they did, don't reply immediately, maintain the mystery. But what if I told you that most of what we believe about text response timing is actually working against us? Today, we're going to break down what the science really says about how long you should wait to text someone back. Not the games, not the tactic, the actual psychology behind human connection in the digital age. Pause. Think about the last time you sent a message to someone you were interested in. Remember that flutter of excitement when you saw those 3 dots appear almost instantly? Or that sinking feeling when hours passed with no response? In those moments, we aren't just waiting for words on a screen. We're seeking validation, connection, and reassurance that the other person values our time and attention as much as we value theirs. The truth is, our relationship with text messaging is complicated, and it's made even more complicated by well-meaning friends who offer conflicting advice. Never text back immediately. You'll look desperate. Don't overthink it. Just be yourself. Always wait at least an hour. Keep them guessing. With so many contradictory rules, it's no wonder we're confused. But beneath all this noise lies a fascinating psychological reality that most dating coaches won't tell you. Let me ask you something. What if the very games we play to seem more attractive are actually sabotaging our chances at genuine connection? The science points to something surprisingly simple, yet profoundly counterintuitive to everything the dating industry has taught us. But before we get there, let's understand why we believe in delayed responses in the first place. The psychology behind the waiting game isn't new. It taps into a principle called scarcity value, the idea that we perceive things as more valuable when they're less available. In dating terms, making yourself slightly less accessible theoretically increases your perceived value. Studies in behavioral economics show that we do tend to place higher value on things that are harder to obtain. That's undeniable. But here's where the conventional wisdom breaks down. When researchers at the University of California examined text response patterns and relationship satisfaction, they discovered something fascinating. The relationships with the highest satisfaction scores weren't the ones where people strategically delayed their responses. They were the ones where response patterns were consistent and relatively quick. Let that sink in for a moment. The happiest couples weren't playing games. They were establishing reliable communication patterns that built trust over time. So, does this mean you should always reply instantly? Not necessarily. What it means is that authenticity trumps strategy nearly every time. The real question isn't, how long should I wait? But rather, what message am I sending with my response timing? When you deliberately delay a response to someone you're genuinely excited to hear from, you're starting the relationship on a foundation of artificial behavior. You're essentially saying, I'm willing to manipulate small details to manage your perception of me. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people can sense that inauthenticity even if they can't quite name it. Dr. Michelle Drouin, a psychologist specializing in technology and relationships, explains it this way. The problem with playing hard to get through delayed messaging is that it creates an atmosphere of game playing from the start. While it might work to generate initial interest, it rarely translates to the kind of transparent communication needed for intimacy to develop. So what should you do instead? The research suggests something radically simple. Respond in a way that reflects your actual interest and availability. If you're genuinely busy, a delayed response makes perfect sense. If you see the message and are excited to respond, there's no psychological benefit to pretending otherwise. In fact, matching energy is far more effective than manipulating timing. If someone consistently takes hours to respond to you, bombarding them with instant replies might create an imbalance. Similarly, taking days to answer someone who responds thoughtfully and promptly sends a clear message about your level of interest, and not a positive one. The key is congruence, alignment between your actions and your true feeling. This might sound simple, but we've been so conditioned to overthink our digital interactions that being straightforward feels almost revolutionary. Let me share something personal. For years, I played all the same texting games. I'd set timers before responding. I'd craft the perfect, casual-seeming message and then deliberately wait hours to send it, even when I'd written it immediately. I thought I was being strategic, but looking back, I was just adding a layer of artificial stress to something that should have been enjoyable. The turning point came when I realized that the connections I valued most in my life, the ones with depth and staying power, had never involved these kinds of calculations. This brings us to an important distinction: initial attraction versus lasting connection. Yes, a bit of mystery can spark curiosity in the very earliest stages of dating. Human beings are naturally drawn to moderate uncertainty. It's why we enjoy puzzles, mysteries, and the thrill of the chase. But that effect has diminishing returns. What initially creates interest can quickly become frustrating if maintained too long. Research from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that predictability and reliability quickly outrank mystery when it comes to developing deeper attachment. After the initial spark, we seek security much more than we seek excitement. Think about it. When was the last time you heard someone say, "What I love most about my partner is never knowing when or if they'll respond to me"? That's not how healthy attachment works. So here's what the research actually suggests for text response timing. First, recognize that there's no universal perfect waiting period. The ideal response time depends on your relationship stage, the content of the message, and the patterns you've already established. In the early stages of dating, responding within a few hours generally strikes the balance between interest and independence. Not because you're playing a game, but because it reflects a healthy life that doesn't revolve around your phone. As a connection deepens, response times naturally tend to shorten. This isn't a sign of neediness, it's a sign of prioritization. We make time for the people who matter to us. The most important factor isn't the specific timing, but consistency. Humans crave pattern recognition. When someone is consistently responsive, even if that means consistently taking a few hours, it builds a sense of security that actually allows attraction to grow. Dr. Helen Fisher, a biological anthropologist who studies romantic love, puts it this way: in the digital age, basic responsiveness has become a form of modern courtship. It's less about how quickly you respond and more about how reliably you respond. This is where the popular advice gets it wrong. The goal isn't to appear disinterested or mysterious indefinitely. The goal is to be authentic while maintaining healthy boundaries. Pause. But what about those situations where you really like someone and are tempted to respond the second their message arrives? Here's where self-awareness comes in. Ask yourself honestly, am I responding instantly because I'm genuinely available and interested, or because I'm anxious about the connection and seeking immediate reassurance? If it's the latter, taking a breath might actually be healthy, not as a game, but as a form of emotional regulation. But remember, healthy attraction involves a balance of connection and autonomy. Responding thoughtfully rather than reactively honors both. The most attractive quality isn't mystery or availability, it's emotional stability. Someone who responds when they're available, takes space when they need it, and doesn't agonize over either decision radiates the kind of confidence that's genuinely magnetic. Let me offer some practical guidelines. For brand new connections, like someone you've just matched with on a dating app, responding within a day shows interest without overinvestment. The conversation should have momentum, even if it's not immediate. For someone you've been on a few dates with, same-day responses demonstrate appropriate investment. Waiting days between messages at this stage often kills budding connection. For established relationships, response patterns should reflect your actual availability and the urgency of the message. If your partner asks what time you're meeting for dinner, waiting 4 hours to reply isn't creating attraction, it's just being inconsiderate. Above all, aim for reciprocity. Notice the other person's communication patterns and consider whether your styles are compatible. Someone who values quick exchanges might not be a match for someone who prefers to craft longer, less frequent messages. And that's okay. The healthiest connections don't require elaborate strategies. They unfold naturally between people whose communication styles are either naturally compatible or who care enough to find workable compromises. Here's the powerful truth that changed my perspective on dating. When the right person comes along, these games don't enhance the connection, they hinder it. The person who's truly aligned with you won't be falling for artificial scarcity tactics. They'll be drawn to your authentic self, your genuine interest, and the unique connection you share. So, what's the final verdict on how long you should wait to text back? The science suggests this. Respond in a way that honors both your interest and your boundaries. Be consistent rather than strategic. And remember that while delayed responses might create momentary intrigue, it's authenticity that creates lasting attraction. The most attractive thing isn't perfect timing, it's being secure enough to be real. Next time your phone lights up with a message from someone special, take a breath. Notice how you feel, then respond, not according to some arbitrary rule, but in a way that feels honest to you. Because in the end, the connections worth having are the ones where you never have to wonder if being yourself is the right strategy. It always is.